The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. At daybreak, on the first day of the week, when the women who had come from Galilee with Jesus took the spices they had prepared and went to the tomb, they found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were puzzling over this, behold, two men in dazzling garments appeared to them. They were terrified and bowed their faces to the ground. They said to them, "Why do you seek the living one among the dead? He is not here, but he has been raised. Remember what he said to you while he was still in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be handed over to sinners and be crucified and rise on the third day." And they remembered his words. Then they returned from the tomb and announced all these things to the 11 and to all the others. The women were Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Mary, the mother of James. The others who accompanied them also told this to the apostles, but their story seemed like nonsense, and they did not believe them. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb, bent down, and saw the burial cloths alone. And he went home amazed at what had happened. The Gospel of the Lord. A common theme of my Holy Week homilies this year has been practical jokes, and not trying to be sacrilegious. As I've said before, I actually got this idea during our Holy Hour early in Lent. I'm considering it being inspired, so that's my story. And I'm not saying that the events of Holy Week were jokes, but I think the people involved in them may have felt like it was a joke, and the joke was on them. So I'm beginning each of my homilies with a practical joke that I'm aware of. I didn't do all these jokes, but I was around. That's all I'll admit to here. This one happened more than 20 years ago at Christmas. I have two nephews, and they were in their mid-20s at that time. My older nephew, Chris, was the last to arrive for our family Christmas gathering, and he had gotten some scratch-off lottery tickets for Christmas, and he wanted to share them, so he handed them out. That should have been our first clue that something was up. Everybody scratched off their tickets. Well, his younger brother, Jason, scratches off his ticket, and his eyes get wide. He says, I won. I won $10,000. Everybody was excited. And Chris said, "How do you collect your prize?" That was the second clue that something was up. So Jason looks at the ticket and said, "Prize must be collected at the North Pole." And he knew his brother got him. The joke was on him. Starting with Holy Thursday, the disciples must have felt like the joke was on them. They gave up everything, and they followed Jesus for 3 years. They shared in the meal with Jesus, and they were told to wash feet. Then Jesus was arrested, convicted, crucified, and buried in a tomb. It was over, and they had nothing. Now they hear the tomb is empty. Is this some kind of joke? The Jewish religious leaders and Pilate must have thought the joke was on them. Jesus had caused trouble with his radical ideas. They finally figured out a way to get rid of him. They crucified him, and they buried him in a tomb. He's done, problem solved, and now the tomb is empty. Is this some kind of joke? In a sense, it was a joke. But the joke wasn't on the disciples or the Jewish religious leaders or Pilate. The joke was on death, because the forces of death had fought against Jesus at every step. All he did was good, and people still found a way to oppose him. They hit him with the worst thing they could do. They crucified him and they buried him in a tomb. Jesus is done and he's over and he's sealed in rock. It's done. But Jesus broke through that like it was nothing, because it was nothing. Death has no power to stop life. Jesus showed us that death is a passageway to new life, to abundant life. As we've heard in that reading from Romans, we died with Jesus in those waters of baptism so we could rise with him to new life. We share that life now. We may face some difficulties and struggles, and things may not always go our way, but Jesus lives, and so do we. And nothing will ever change that. It's not a joke. It's the life of God within us. Death has no power over us because the victory has already been won.